on a Friday.
Oh,
I think I
probably
might
a
have
lot of
known
people. Yeah.
Well,
Don't take offense, but yeah, I think I knew that.
You tried to sneak out. That's all right.
nah. I kept wanting to leave early, and they're like, "Oh, so one more thing," and just the groan for me every time, like, I just want to leave.
It's always the worst, right? Oh wait, hold on. No, it's
Yeah,
always
there-
when you're like turn to walk away, and then somebody's like, "Oh, but hold on, one more," and you got to turn back around and slowly trudge back and stare at them.
Mm-hmm.
I was
What?
packing up everything and getting ready to stand. And he's like, "Oh, one more thing before you go." I'm like, "All right, so I'll sit back down." He started talking. I was like, oh, "Okay." So I get my stuff, start standing up, and he's like, "Oh, so before you guys leave," and I'm like, sit back down.
When you say one more thing and it's not, I'm starting to not believe you.
It's true. It's true.
And so he just started talking, and my table just like, you know what, we're done. And we all just got up and left. So, yeah. You got it
As long
right
as
when
it wasn't just you. I mean, that's fine.
no, there's about 3.
Yeah, what are they going to do? Punish all of you? Come on.
Tackle all of them.
That's ridiculous. But yeah, you got back here right on time.
Well, good. Glad you made it back. Is it all rainy and nasty there too?
It
rainy
is.
and nasty here. Oy, oy, oy.
It was. I mean, it's more like misting and
Yeah.
just a wet, damp fog
Yeah.
that's just kind of like over everything. I mean, it's not really that cold, but
But the dampness is not helping. Right?
yeah, it's already hitting my voice pretty hard.
Oh.
Yeah, we had ice pellets for about 30 minutes, which was fun.
Oh,
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
That's
missed
not-
that.
Okay.
You can have those.
I don't
Keep
I
that.
don't want them. I don't want them at all. Nobody wants those.
So, Aaron, the real question that I've been meaning to ask you is: has anybody accosted you over the breakfast coffee bar situation?
I didn't know what that was.
Oh, no, I got so keep in mind, I've already been down in Oklahoma City, Norman area for like a week. And so my enjoyment of human beings has steadily declined over the week, and then just immediately dropped off by Friday. And so I passed both of my exams
Hey, awesome.
All right.
Thursday.
Congrats, man.
I can't remember what the days are running together. Thank you.
I had the same problem this week. It was just like, what day is it? Is it Wednesday?
I'll go more on those in a second, but yeah, I show up and it's really cool. Like, I get the whole concept of trying to stay connected with each other, getting to learn about, state facilities and, state organizations, and that part cool. It was also held at the Oklahoma History Center, which was also really cool.
Oh.
I spent a lot of time just walking around. Like one time I went to the bathroom and then I just walked into an exhibit and just like
Everybody wandered off.
We're
Yeah.
lost for the next 4 hours.
Yeah.
and so like everyone was down there was like not like super like dressed, but like all the administrative people were blazers and dress slacks, and a bunch of people were like in dress slacks and polos, and I walk in with like my hoodie and like I wasn't wearing jeans, but I was wearing my like outdoorsy pants and like tennis shoes, and people were giving me dirty looks, and I was like, I don't care. Like
Right.
I was the only one. I was the only one. Like I had a polo underneath, but I kept my hat on because I was like, I don't care. Like I will fight anyone who tries to come up and talk to me. But luckily, I had the table that I was with. We all were suffering through the week, and so we were just kind of over it together. But I was just like, I don't care. Don't make me do anything. And so, like when I'd go up and get a water, people would just kind of like stare at me. I was like, I will throw this whole table at you. That is my mood right now. And so yeah, no, I didn't fight over any coffee, but I was I was really ready to throw down if I had to, give myself a little Donnybrook and toss the gloves and pull the jersey up and
oh dear,
we're not.
The refs pull me off. But yeah, that was my mood for the whole day until they gave us time for lunch and I got to explore the history museum. I didn't get to explore it in detail because I could have spent hours there, but yeah, I went up and walked to the restroom and they had a Vietnam or Oklahomans in Vietnam exhibit, and then they also had a people who migrated from Vietnam into Oklahoma because there's a giant population of Vietnamese individuals here in Oklahoma. And so I went to the bathroom and I was like,
there are indeed, yes.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't really have to go back and listen to this thing. And so I just took a right and went into the exhibit, and they had like a cool Huey helicopter simulator that I accidentally sat in. I was like, oh no, I guess I have to finish this. And
I can't crash it. I have to learn. Right?
Yeah. And so, yeah, if anything Dad taught me about simulators, I have to make sure I land it. And then I just walked around for a little bit, and then I was like, oh, I guess we should go back. And the guy was still talking about the same subject, and I was gone for like 15 minutes.
Well, so you could have taken more time to learn about the Hmong population of Oklahoma. That's important. You've done that.
Yeah, there's something there that's in that museum, but yeah, I'll like to go back and actually legitimately explore it for a time. But yeah, I was really about to throw something at somebody if they said anything about me. I was just I was so done with people.
Are you done? Do you have to keep going back, or?
Yeah. So what I had to do, so what it's called for it's conferences and training, but it's something called CORE, and it's pretty much getting you ready for your particular field, which for me is child welfare. It's child protective services. So I'm the one that goes out, gathers information, talks to people, figures out what's going on, and then the big higher up people make decisions. So it's pretty much like how to interview someone, how to use the computer to do database researches and stuff like that. Yeah. So our big tests, plural, sorry, on Thursday for my group was we had to get there early at like 7:00 in the morning. They gave us like a small referral that's like, these are the names, this is what happened. And so like, okay, so we had to quote unquote interview a child at the school, aka a testing room with an actor with a grader in the room. Yeah. And so we had to pretend it was, a child at school talking to him. And we were graded on certain things like, did we address allegations? Did we assess safety? Did we, were we able to have a conversation with a kid?
Yeah.
And things like that, and, just kind of understand the family a little bit. And I passed that. There were some things that I needed to work on, but usually when you interview kids, which I've had interviews with kiddos before, like they can last anywhere between like 30 minutes to an hour. Mm-hmm. And they gave us like 20 minutes. And the lady's like, that was really good stuff, but you just ran out of time. And I'm like, fine, whatever. And then we had to go back and we had to do what's called an AOCS, which is an assessment of child safety, which is a completely different thing where we have to read through and understand if a kid is safe or not safe, which I passed that. And then the one that I was more concerned with, which is you then have to go and interview the parent. Oh, excuse me. And so, same case, whatever. So then I had to go back and, I had to go knock on the door and introduce myself and then, tell them why I'm here, get an understanding of what happened, understand the family, get things like that. And I nailed that interview, which I was more nervous about because it's with some of these people, you don't know how they're going to react. And so I was just kind of more gut-wrench, not like super nervous, but I was just more, nervous about that. And I nailed that. And then they're like, all right, you can go home. And I'm like, great, I get to go home. And I got an email. It's like, hey, you have to be on this thing on Friday. And so I did.
Home, they meant
right back here.
However, I did get to go stay at a Marriott hotel.
All right.
Like a really nice Marriott hotel. And
Very good.
I just had to drive like 20 minutes north to Oklahoma City and be given like a really nice hotel room. And I'm like, oh, for me? Oh my God, you couldn't have. It was probably more that I complained like to the person that put it on. Because like, well, you have to be at this thing on Friday. I'm like, well, do I have to get a hotel? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, you don't understand. It's a 3-hour drive for me at home, or to go home and then come back. Do you really want to put up with me? And she's like, oh, well, we just booked you a room for the Marriott. And it's like, oh, thank you so much. So,
wow, I love how with the threat of spending time with you and they immediately were like, you know what? Never mind. We'll just do something nice. For you.
It's like, do you want me to be grumpier the entire time, or do you want me to be less grumpy? And they're like, oh well, we actually have some rooms available at this location. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Thank you.
Now look, you can't go stealing my. I'm supposed to be the grumpy one, so you can't go stealing my job like that. That's not very nice. I don't appreciate it.
Running up on this turf here, dude. Better step off.
I know.
Stepping on my toes.
Aaron was nothing but grumpy the entire of today. But no, Aaron was less grumpy. Aaron went on a date, so Aaron was less grumpy as well. But no, yeah, I walked in. I was like, I will fight every single one of you here if you talk to me. And conveniently enough, no one did. So something was working.
There you go. Those vibes, those negative vibes. They're really picking up on those. Oh yeah,
the seething hatred and
it could have been the seething. It could have been the seething. Right.
And anger that was just dripping off of you, and the glares that you were, melting marble with probably didn't help at all. Probably did help, actually. Now that I think about it,
true.
It's like I walked into the room, and someone's like, "I feel a dark presence of Sauron," and like we mustn't look at him. It was kind of like that vibe. So
sure. I was over at the corner with your arms crossed, just like meh.
I think Sauron ever went meh.
If Aaron were Sauron, he would go meh.
I was so bored and just so tired that they gave us like a little booklet. It almost looked like a little diary. I just started writing like
dear diary.
No, I started like writing, and it turned into like a little miniature book.
There we go.
And so from like 8 o'clock,
don't call that a novella.
The memoirs of a bored person, the Memotorium of Aaron of House Funkhauser. So yeah, I have a little book that I wrote. I zoned out. I can't exactly remember what we talked about. I remember the conversations I had with my table. And it sounds really bad for anyone who is listening that is a state agent. I'm a good worker, I promise. I just wasn't today. Like, I can't. Usually I pay really good attention, but I just couldn't bring myself to it. So, like, I'm very vigilant, but today I just turned everything off.
Yeah, you need to do that every now and then.
Sometimes you're not on. It's all right.
Yeah, I didn't want to use any brain power today.
I had a really long week too. We had parent involvement night last night, so it was like where parents, not like, it's different than parent teacher conferences, because that's when they come and talk about like schoolwork and stuff, But parent involvement night is just parents come and hang out at school. There's like activities, and it's like a community building thing, right? So they can just come and hang out, and there's like information about just school policies around, and then they come to the classrooms and there's stuff to do, and then there's food and stuff, and then they can come in and hang out and then go home. So it was just a very long night sitting around. Like,
oh, okay.
So it was kind of cool though. It was fun. We had actually a lot of people, which I wasn't really expecting for 6th grade. I figured it'd be like 2. Right? Yeah. we had a pretty good handful, not bad, I guess.
Okay. It's not too bad.
It was a long day. So we were just sitting in my room, waiting for people to come, do my little activity thing, and then go home again.
At least there was food.
Well, I didn't have any because I was very far away.
Well, but like there was food on premise.
There was food somewhere. Other people had food, but like I didn't. I got Chinese takeout when I came home, so it's better than whatever chili they had in the cafeteria. So I lucked out. So that's okay. But yeah, we did thing. Most of the kids actually came to play the game that we were doing. So take that.
Take that. You're the fun one.
Yeah. We taught them, or I taught them, since we're learning about ancient Mesopotamia in history class.
Yeah.
I taught them how to play the royal game of the world's oldest board game. So that's what we did this week in class. We practiced, and then last night, if they came, they taught their parents the rules, and they played their parents in this game.
Oh, that's really cool. Oh, wow.
It was fun. Yeah. Some of their parents are savages, man. They're like, oh, yeah, take this, blam. Like, like, whoa, these parents are board game experts. Don't even mess with them.
Oh, no.
It was really funny. So in class, we watched the rules were actually deciphered by Dr. Irving Finkel. He's like the head of the ancient Mesopotamian cultural department at the British Museum of Natural History.
Okay, so he might know it too.
And like, if he is, imagine to yourself what you think a curator of ancient Mesopotamia in the British History Museum looks like in your head. Mm-hmm. Okay, are you picturing? If you're picturing basically Gandalf in a tweed jacket, you're exactly right. And he's this very like loud, cantankerous old British man. And so we watched a little video of him teaching somebody how to play, and it's the funniest thing ever. Like,
oh my gosh.
He's talking about how this game does in fact bring out much rage and contempt for your opponent. And all the kids were like, whatever, it's just a board game.
Yeah.
And they all started playing nice. Right. Mm-hmm. But it's a game, it's kind of like Sorry. Right?
Oh, yeah.
In that you're playing somebody else. It's like and you have to get all of your pieces around the little board before they do.
Interesting.
And there's a big center strip in the middle where if you land on each other, they get kicked off the board back to the start thing.
Oh, sounds sounds very much like Sorry.
Huh. Yeah. So they were all like, oh, whatever, it's all just fun and blah, blah, blah. But by the end, like almost all my class was like, no, like raging. Because you get to the end and you're like 3 spaces away and you can't roll the right number of dice to get off the board, right? Because it has to be exact. And then you can't roll it. And then the other person comes along and goes right past you or lands on you and kicks you off. And just like, it was really great. They had a lot of fun with it. So
well, that's awesome. That's really cool. And I like that you had them teach their parents if they can.
Yeah. So I made a board on like Google in like a little bit. I just made it out of a table basically.
Oh, okay.
Right? Sure. Like a spreadsheet table. And I'd label all the stuff and said, here it is. So I have a very rudimentary version of the game that we played. I made some dice and we just used little bingo marker things as counters, and we went around. It was pretty good.
Yeah. That a lot.
Also, I'm adding that to my indoor recess game list since we all know how to play it now. We have little tournaments when it's too cold to go outside for recess.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, why not? Why not? You've already put in the effort to have them.
Now they know. Some of them really are into it because we talked about it afterwards. Like, so what do we think about this board game? And they were like, "This is great. I love this." So, yeah.
That's so cool.
It was kind of fun. Still sore losers 4,000 years ago. That's what I learned.
Turns out that the competitive nature of people hasn't really changed over all these years.
The same.
Exact same. Yeah.
It's kind of really funny, like when you look at things that are that old, or just like things that are kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Not contextual, but that like are relatable. Like when you hear, things like ancient Romans scribbling, like there's one
jokes
example
on walls. Yes.
Yeah, there's that, or there's the slings that they'd use in like warfare. They would write notes on like the rocks that they would throw, and then some things would be like catch or heads up or something.
And so another smelt of elderberry.
Yeah, just kind of how humor and kind of that joking inappropriateness has still been around for humans for thousands of years. But
it's true.
I find it fascinating.
Well, that's the things that make sixth graders able to actually relate to it too, right? When you talk about how weird society was back then, they kind of have no scope for what on earth that is. So, like, when you put those things in, they're like, oh, okay, people still got mad over really dumb things, or like people did not like to lose at board games. Like, it makes sense, right? You can kind of relate to it a little bit more.
What? Speaking of older games, do you guys remember learning some Native American games from Boy Scouts? Like, there was a game where we took, it was pretty much like poles, and we, like, two people held them on like one end, and then like you made like a cross, and there was like 4 poles in total, and they would like move the poles back and forth, and you had to like jump them. Remember doing that in the basement? Anyone?
That's not that. That's a Southeast Asian dancing thing, right?
Yeah,
it's not a. That's a. We did that in PE in elementary school, and I don't. Yeah, you hold them like parallel.
How do I
you like you sit cross-legged from each other?
Yeah, and you can't put them together and apart.
Yes. So so I was also.
I gotta Google this without writing pole dancing, just real quick.
Yeah,
so
you don't want Megan to find that in your search history. That'd be bad.
I know.
I was getting it confused with Colin. I can't remember if you went. Brandon, I know you didn't go on this trip, but the Boy Scout trip, we went down to Texas.
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't go to Texas? Okay, I was just dadding myself. But it was at this lake, and they gave you like a pontoon boat. And you had this, but like one of the places that we went to, there was a Cherokee camp, and they taught us like Cherokee games. Like you had pretty much like a stick, and it had a marker, and you would all stand in a circle, and you'd like chuck the stick at each other. And if you caught it wrong, you would lose a limb, and you had to like put an arm behind your back, or like lose a leg. And I taught that game to my students at Caney Valley. We didn't do it inside because I didn't trust them, but I had like this like water noodle, and I cut it, and I put like a little stick in it, and I taped the ends so safely, and I made a little marker, and I got the kids in a circle, and I would throw it, and if they caught it below the marker, they would like lose an arm or something.
What the heck?
But I cannot remember what that's
crazy.
Called. Yeah, it's pretty legit. The lady that taught us was like this really old Cherokee lady, and we were thinking she was gonna like play nicely. No, she was ruthless. Like she would take the stick and like spin it backwards, and she's like, "Okay, catch!" And we were like, "You're so powerful!" And try to catch it, and we lost every single time.
It is something called tinikling. I apologize. It is a Filipino folk dance.
Oh.
Yeah. It's TIN.
Wait. Okay, start over.
T is a letter of the alphabet.
TIN.
What is that in military terms? T is
Tango.
that Tango?
Tango, India. I don't remember N.
November.
N. Oh yeah, Tango India November.
Mm.
India Kilo Lima India November G.
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. That's it. That's
Oh,
what
here
they
we go.
say for G. Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Yes, yes. Okay.
Is that it?
I think so. I'm on YouTube. Yes.
Yeah.
They're doing it much better than we did.
Obviously.
I did it in
know.
like 3rd or 4th grade. How could we be good at this?
Because
the
Boy Scouts,
in the basement.
our intent was to crush the ankles of the people dancing, not
no,
to
we did it in PE. I remember this. We learned it in PE for something, and we did it. That's where we did this.
Yet again, the goal was to crush their ankles and not help them.
That's probably true, because if your friends are in there, you obviously want to trip them and make them fall on their heads.
Yeah.
Golf. G is golf, I believe. Sorry.
They're so graceful.
Wait, is that golf or golf?
Golf, I think.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
I could be wrong. I didn't look that up. But I always want to say gamma, but that's incorrect. So.
Oh. I'm now intrigued. Yeah, I would have been out of breath by then.
GOLF. Anyway, jump robothon. Yes, for the heart thing.
Yeah, Mrs. Evans' PE class.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I do remember this vaguely. I remember it was for like heart wellness stuff.
Yes.
And I just remember jumping rope. I don't really remember any of the logistics of this, except for that it existed, and I did it, and I wasn't particularly great at jumping of ropes. So
It was. I remembered. Oh no! Now I'm going to get this wrong. I think the jump rope. They had those plastic segments in them.
Yes.
And the different colors were for different lengths. And I'm pretty sure
they
that
were?
it was. Yeah, that's how you knew which length to get. It was because I would always get, it was either like blue or green or something like that. But that's how you knew.
Grab one.
No, because you're supposed to jump where you put your feet on it and stand up. It's supposed to come up to your armpits, and that's a good jump rope.
I knew that, but I never correlated that with what color the jump rope was. The majority of them were red and white, so I just grabbed one and I didn't even notice.
We had green and blue ones too.
Yeah, we had
those
green,
junky old
red,
and white ones.
Well, you had to make sure you picked the ones with the actual working handles, because the little plastic that broke off, and that's
right
the one you got.
tip.
Just
That was all cut,
janky.
Yeah.
You guys put a lot more thought into jumping rope.
Well, I don't remember. Like I had no idea about the lengths of them until literally Colin just
Aaron was
stated.
concerned about handle construction.
Mhm.
Colin was worried about the length of the rope, and I was just like, "Give me that one. I don't care."
Right.
I know
I was like, whatever I need to do to not be here anymore.
How fast can I jump ropes?
I remember we did them in teams, and I was the first one up, and I got to like 20, and I just like ate PE floor because my brain like stopped working, and like the rope hit both my shins, and I just went straight down. And
with how much force were you swinging this rope?
I don't know. I don't remember.
You guys see that? Knocked himself over. He was so vigorous about rope jumping.
I remember giving the rope to my teammate, and he jumped for like the remainder of class, and no one else in our group got the jump, and we're like, oh, this is easy. Look at our team go.
Should have just started with him. Yeah.
Instead of just me.
Right. I do remember some sort of relay aspect to this, now that you bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also
teams of 4, perhaps?
Yes.
Is that plausible? Okay.
That does seem plausible.
Okay.
Yeah. We also did something with hula hoops.
I was never a big PE person, so I don't remember. The only extremely vivid physical education memory that I have was from the old elementary school. Remember that big old long gym that was also the cafeteria?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. We were playing a game in there. Basically, from what I remember, it was basically what the kids in my school now play as spiders and flies, which is where the majority of the class is on one side, and there's a few people that are it in the middle, and you have to run from one side to the other without becoming tagged. And if you get tagged, you become it, and the number of people who are it grows and grows until there's only like one person left running around.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I don't remember this game at all.
That's what the only reason I remember that game is because I was standing at one end of, in my mind, the world's longest gymnasium. Right?
Well,
and I imagine if I went into that room now, it would be like, holy cow, this room is really small. Right. But I was on the back wall running toward the stage. I remember this.
Oh, yeah.
And I was running down the wall, like where you would go in to get the lunch, because that cafeteria was actually in that same room, but it was inside those doors, remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the south side there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I was running from east to west. I was running, and my friend was in the middle, and I was running, and I thought to myself, that punk is going to try to tag me. I just know it. And I'm running, and yep, he started running after me.
Oh no!
And I was sprinting down next to the wall, and he lunged to tag me, and he hit me in the shoulder really hard, and I lost my balance and dove headfirst into that cement wall.
Oh no! Oh jeez!
Yeah, I was knocked out. Right? I got knocked out. Hardcore. Dead. Sprawled out on the floor, just done.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I remember, like, I don't remember really anything after that until being in. Well, I remember them, like, walking down the hallway. Somebody was walking down the hallway with me to the nurse's office. Right? And I remember getting some ice, putting it on my head, and they called Mom to come get me. And I had this, like, enormous knot, like, right above, like, on my forehead, above my right eye, because I twisted when I fell. Right? I twisted when I fell, and even though the wall was on my left side, I had turned because he shoved me, and I slammed my head into the wall, kind of on the right side, like on the top of my forehead, towards the crown of my head there.
Yeah.
I had this enormous, like, knot thing, and I had ice on it forever, and it turned, like, all these really gross colors because it was just so bad.
Oh my gosh.
It's like the one memory I have of PE. and then being in high school and taking PE in summer school because I couldn't be bothered to actually take PE for a year.
Okay, so I wasn't the only one to do the summer school.
Racket sports.
No, I just took it in summer school. My friend and I decided that we were very much professional spectators, and we just went to summer school where we played some basketball for a couple weeks, some floor hockey. That was it. It was between my, like, junior and senior year. I was like, oh yeah, I need a PE credit.
No, I had
it during summer school, so I was like, yep, that's the one.
I intentionally took PE every summer in high school and in college because I couldn't.
Every summer?
Well, because we had to have, when I went through, we had to have a PE credit and a health credit or something like that.
Yeah, it's 1.5 credits. The half is the health class because it's only a semester.
Okay, so not every summer. So, but
I took summer school for one summer. Got my PE credit. Done ski. Yeah, I took health class. That was easy. You just sat in a room and learned about bones and was like, okay.
I had freshman class, or my freshman year, I had health and PE with Coach Roy.
Did it all at once? Ew.
Yeah.
But you were sport boy. You did, like, football and stuff. So you had.
But I distinctly remember, like, when I was in, like, elementary or middle school. Must have been middle school. But I took a summer school class of, like, stamping and, like, Greek culture with, like,
Mrs.
Middle Toll.
Middle summer school class used to be, like, fun. You do, like, cool things.
Yes.
Because, like, I don't know
I never went to summer school at all, except when I took PE, because I was like, no, I'm not doing PE for a year. Because PE in middle school was like, it wasn't like bad. It was just not for me. I don't care. Right? Like, oh, you're going to sport. Like, neat. I don't want to play basketball. Get out of my way. Like, I don't care. I ran track in school, but that's just like, I'm going to run. That's it. I don't want to do PE things. I don't want to play pickleball for 47 days. I'm not interested in that. I love pickleball. It's on my credit. And then I want to go home. Like, I have other things I could be doing. I could be in shop class. I could be in art class. I could take more band classes. I'm not taking. Yeah. Like my senior year, I was gonna take like French 2, like Chem 2, all this stuff, all the 2s. And I was like, I ain't got time for PE. I'm doing all this stuff. Get out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was very thankful that they offered racket sports in the summer, so that I could take that and not have to worry about it during the long semesters.
I might have lied. I did take driver's ed in summer school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that's not really part of the rest of the summer school curriculum. So like didn't really and it was shorter and weirder, and it was like a little bit, and I just drove around with the people and went to McDonald's to get Coach some Diet Cokes or whatever. So like it was
I got really good at that McDonald's drive-through in Rogersville.
Dang right.
And then the one up in Marshfield.
we had to drive all the way to Stratford because the McDonald's was not in Rogersville yet. Whenever I took driver's ed, so we drove to Stratford, we drove to Seymour, we drove to Springfield a couple times.
Yeah,
but we had to get that Diet Coke. Coach needed that Diet Coke real bad, so we had to go get it.
Real bad.
See, the repercussions of Colin taking racket sports was for like a duration of the end of the summer. We always had to go to like a tennis court, and Colin had to drag his little brother around and then just watch his little brother suffer because I could not grasp the concept of tennis. And like I couldn't compute it.
Not that bad.
I mean, it's like ping pong but bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't scale things down because it just scale things up.
Yeah, it's bigger ping pong with running.
And then we got into racquetball. Weirdly, like where did that come from?
I played racquetball in college a lot.
I did enjoy that.
I think that's right, because it's in a room. The ball's in the room. You could play around. But yeah, I played that in college because they had the Y right there on campus.
Yeah.
And it was just, you just go. And I didn't want to do anything else, but me and my friends were like, hey, we'll go play some racquetball. So we were in there one time. We're like, what's this game? And like these random dudes taught us how to play. Like, this is the game for me. Got it. I like this game. So we this is the racket game I've been waiting for. The ball, just wait for the ball to bounce around and it comes to you. This is great. I love this.
Eventually it will get back to you.
It'll get back to you.
Yeah, and that's why I liked taking racket sports, because it was just a summer of doing a little bit of everything that involved a racket. And so from badminton to pickleball to tennis to racquetball.
That would have been better, but in high school I just had PE, so it was like they didn't have any of that stuff. We literally played basketball. We played a lot of dodgeball. We played a lot of two base.
I mean, they had those credits available, but I was like, nope, I am not doing that because who was
we didn't have a racquetball. That would have been that would have been way cooler. I just had Coach Roy be like, hit him in the head with a dodgeball. He's like, no, you didn't hit me. I'm not out. I'm like, get out.
Who was the middle school coach?
Coach Scott.
Yeah, Coach Scott. He taught racket sports, and that's what made it a lot of fun. Is because
I think my friends and I would have liked that better.
Yeah, I like Coach Scott a lot.
Yeah, Coach Scott was fun. I liked Coach Scott. See, I had to take. I don't think I really took any summer school classes in high school.
No,
except for driver's ed.
Driver's ed.
I don't even know if they offered anything really.
We had some stuff.
Yeah,
but a lot of it was like, recovery classes and stuff like that. But they also had some for like, if you can't fit it in your schedule, they offered like certain classes.
what, were you that bad? Or like, what was the problem? And I'm like, no, it wasn't a problem. They had classes available that I wanted to take.
Yeah, I don't know if at our school it was like that. Maybe it was, but I also missed that boat because I didn't know.
And I think
like,
I don't know.
I wasn't cognizant of these things. Like I didn't really. That wasn't on my radar of things. Like this, I didn't care.
And maybe that's because we did go to the summer school programs in elementary school. Like we did do that. So like there was already a positive association in it with
That's
it.
good because elementary school and middle school, like they were all about like summer school for just like random like art summer school. Like whatever.
Like stamping.
We did a world tour of foods. I remember was one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's way cool.
Yeah. Right. But and so there was never a bad thing to me. And so yeah, I took a science class in high school at Glendale, I think that was. I signed up for a marine biology class at Glendale. They had a program there, and then I took summer school every summer in college to get the classes out that I couldn't bear to tolerate for a full semester out of the way.
Well, yeah, it's not a bad idea, but I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't know because I didn't do it in high school, but it wasn't because like didn't I could have, I guess, but because I always had like signups for classes in the summer, and so a lot of them were like the keyboarding stuff or like
they were
or like a lot of those extra stuff that you gotta have that there's not always room for.
Right.
That's what I remember. I remember there was a lot of that stuff.
That was my first summer school class. Was the keyboarding one. I took it in the summer between 8th and 9th grade. And it was at the high school. I remember
in the business rooms over there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
There was that, and there was some other stuff, but I don't remember because like now a lot of it is like at our school it's like credit recovery. So like if you failed, it's like online stuff to make up the credits that you failed. If you like failed a semester of science or whatever, you go in and you do like these online courses where you make up. You have to do all this stuff and work and like tests and all that stuff to kind of get that credit back, right? But it is very like blah, and the kids hate it. But like, yeah, But it's that. It's not like there's not like after at our school. It's like after 5th grade, there's no summer programs for anybody.
Really,
unless it's credit recovery.
Wow.
So like, yeah, it's kind of not very exciting. Like it's kind of like I don't know. There's nothing for them to do, which in like small town city is like kind of not great. Like it'd be good if there was more stuff, but I don't know if part of it is a numbers thing because a lot of kids want to come anymore when they're that old,
right? I'm
combined with like no teacher is like, yeah, I want to spend my summer with 7th graders.
Of course I do.
So there's
yeah. So I wonder if that is something that grew out of fashion. It used to be 10 years ago. It used to be like that, or 15, 20 years ago, that was a norm, or if just Logan Rogersville was kind of a weird diamond in the rough kind of thing of doing their own thing with that. Because I have, like I said, when I talk to people about it, it is very weird. They're very like confused, and so I guess that was not the norm for most other schools districts.
Yeah, I don't know. Because again, I didn't do it a lot, but I was doing like in middle school, like all my summer was baseball related at that point. Right. So
yeah, I know that'd be a little different for you then.
Yeah. Because I didn't have that. Like I didn't go to the middle because even though I knew that like middle school, summer school was like fun things, like my friends didn't really go. And I was doing like tons of baseball stuff in the summer. So
yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't go. But then again, I didn't like, I didn't think like, oh no, it's summer school. That's bad. I was just like, yeah, I'm busy. I can't go to
doing
that.
other stuff.
So
Right?
I was doing other things, so I didn't have time to do that. So I don't know. I never thought about that till right now because I wasn't really aware. That's one of those things I was not aware of because it passed like the realm of my focus. You know, it was like outside of my focus zone, so I didn't really pay attention to it. It's because I have this bad habit of doing that. Like if I'm not immediately concerned with it right now, it doesn't exist. Right?
Yeah.
It's a problem that I have sometimes. So that it's part of that too. I think like I didn't really know about it. So maybe it was, but I sure don't remember. I sure don't remember like making fun of people for being in summer school.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, haha, you have to go. Like that was not a thing that happened. I don't remember. So there was no. I don't remember like a negative connotation. I just don't remember any connotation at all. So I probably wasn't. Right? Like at least I don't remember a negative one. That's good, right?
Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the like falling out of summer schools probably has to do with, you know, funding issues that a lot of schools just can't really afford, you know, summer school. A lot of schools are going to like 4 day weeks instead of the traditional 5 days. So because they don't have the funding to, you know, stay open, or they want to save money by just going 4 days instead of, you know, that fifth one, which kind of makes my job difficult sometimes. If I have to go talk to a kid, I have to like remember which school it is. Like, wait, do they have school on Mondays or do they not have school on Fridays? Like, which one is it? And it's totally embarrassing when you go out and you go to a school and no one's there.
At least no one's there to see you.
True, right?
See?
But I think a lot of it does have to go with, you know, with funding.
Mm-hmm.
And then just kind of, and I think a lot of schools just trying to cram as much like classes that meet the requirements like in as possible. And so like you have kids trying to, you know, take multiple classes like each semester, not, you know, kind of sticking to the same routine and forcing them to kind of, you know, be diverse.
Well, that makes sense because, I mean, that's one of the things that you see take out the diversity of classes in schools. You know, home ec is one of the ones that gets brought up a lot of how if it's offered, it's nothing like it used to be. And most of the time it's just taken out completely. You know?
Yeah, and the other one is wood shop. Right?
Wood shop.
We don't have wood shop at our school. Like I stinking loved wood shop. I wasn't like good at it, but like I needed that break in my day. Right? I needed something.
It was. I never. No, it was
something else outside of academics to like focus on for a while because it's a nice. It's good. I learned a lot of good stuff. I made some janky shelves. Right? It was cool, but like
cool clock.
Like I needed it for like a break. Like I needed to focus on something else. I needed something else in my day that was different. I needed to break up the day. I wanted to do different things. But other people, you know, and like whatever, right? Yeah. Like those programs, like those are the reason that you go to school, for that release of that creative thing that you do, or that technical thing that you do in the case of like wood shop or ag welding or something like that. Like you need that. Like that's what keeps you going to school. And then you are there for, you also go to math and you also go to writing or whatever, but like you want to go for art or you want to go for a shop class. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah. And I like that idea of, I might not be good at this particular thing, but the break from the monotony.
Well, and I'm being exposed to new things. Right?
Yeah, and the application of something of that's totally different, and of, you know, I'm not just sitting here reading, listening to somebody talk and flipping a page. I am using this rather dangerous piece of machinery to to explore and to create and to mess up, and but you know, you're all in it together and working, and it is a different atmosphere.
And but you know, the state doesn't really give a darn if you can use a table saw, right? They only care. You only get funding based on the number on your state scores in like the reading and writing column. That's it, because they don't care about anything else. They want to see your. I just had this meeting 2 weeks ago, so I understand. I know exactly what's happening. You get your. it's your CA score, your communication arts score, your math score, and your science score. That's it. Which, I don't care about anything else. Graduation rate and attendance
is so sad. Because when you think of like, where do all three of those kind of things? Where do all three of those come together? In the wood shop.
Yeah.
When you're baking, when
you're pottery class,
pottery class.
And
yeah, all three of those and so much more come together and are applied. And so what was always interesting to me is anytime in like a math class or reading or, reading comprehension kind of stuff, when that question comes up of when am I ever going to use this in real life? Typically, I feel like
2 hours when you're in art. Yeah, when you're in art. Or when you're out in the ag building welding stuff, right?
Yeah, or you're sitting there trying to prep and run a 3-course dinner that you're making in home ec, right? Like all of a sudden, all that stuff comes up. And what would be so interesting would be to see what kind of studies have been done to compare test scores in schools that offer them versus don't, and what's changed as courses have been removed and taken away.
Probably, I'm going to guess that study doesn't exist currently.
Yeah.
Well, I think I definitely remember reading that they stated that kids who actually take not just the gen ed courses, but who take like a music class, who take like an activities class like that, they do score higher, not just on like their state scores, or the state testing scores, but also in like other classes as well. But I'm pretty sure Oklahoma did a study on that, which Oklahoma surprising, but there was a a series of like this, like they took one school that had like all these programs, and then they cut all of those programs, PE, art, music, and then they're like, well, what happened to our test scores? And then they're like, let's try something real quick. And so they brought back like music, and the test scores went up again, not like significantly, but enough to show that there was a difference, like a matching difference that said, hey, there was something here. And so they put a little bit more money into it and brought back like, not like PE, but like something of that nature. And like the test scores went back up again because the kids were able to have that free thinking, that thinking flow of, I get to express myself. I'm happier at school because I get to do something that I actually enjoyed.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Is like I have this release of where I can enjoy this part of my day, and then that kind of makes you able to be at school for the rest of it, right? Yeah. Because if I
can tolerate it because for this 1 hour, right?
Because if you're at school all day long and you don't enjoy any of your 7 classes, like why would you want to go?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like I can't imagine. I understand that. That makes sense to me. Like I think in the education field, oftentimes people don't remember that. There's this really bad habit that I've noticed when you go to these things. People forget what it was like to be a child.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, oh, we gotta, you hear all they ever talk about is your test scores. I can remember when I was a kid, I did not care about whatever test I was taking at all. I remember going into the auditorium. State testing time. We had to go in the auditorium. We had to fill out a little MMAT junk or whatever, or the Stanford 9 little bubbles garbage. All I remember about that is it being boring and me not really caring and just being like, okay, well,
no matter how much they told us to care or how that it was important, I didn't care at all because it didn't reflect on me. It was another test. It was boring. It was, taking me away from other stuff that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't be bothered. Like, why? Why is this important? So
what was
I don't care. I'm here. I'm just a student.
Yeah.
What was the military standards test?
Oh, the ASVAB.
Yeah, so I sat.
Yeah, that is also. I did not know until like very recently that test is actually also counted on the state score thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
No, because for us, it didn't count. Like, because
in Missouri, it's part of your thing. Like, they look at the ASVAB scores.
But that's
nobody scores good on that because they don't want the military to call their house.
Well,
so they're like,
because like
most people are like, yeah, whatever, blow it off because I don't want the Army recruiters calling me.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember asking like the Army person handing this out. It's like, is this for a grade? He's like, well, no. And so I just didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I put my name on it, and I was like, okay. He was like, well, no, you have to do it. And I was like, it's not for a grade, is it? He's like, well, no.
Yeah,
like, is it for anything important? And he's like, no. And it's like, well, I'm not doing it.
Now I think the state of Missouri looks at those scores because that was on our little sheet that we looked at in our meeting the other day. And the only memory I have of that was, again, going to the auditorium, looking at a paper, filling out some bubbles, and then sitting there bored out of my mind because I was done in like 5 seconds. Like, okay, whatever. Yeah. Like, but I remember everybody in my school was like, yeah, I'm not even going to try on this because I don't want the recruiters to call me. You know what I mean? Like, that was a thing. That was a known thing that happened. So to find out that the state looks at that score, I was like, that's a weird one to just look at for stuff because I don't think anybody cares about the ASVAB test. Like,
but you could see how they'd go, oh well, if they're already taking the test, if it's already part of the standardized procedure, why not look at it?
Yeah, but it seemed
why not
weird.
Include it?
I was like, what you do? I didn't know that. I've been working in school forever. I didn't know that was a thing they looked at.
That's terrible.
It was weird. Yeah, I don't know, but I distinctly remember nobody caring about the ASVAB test. So it's distressing that the state looks at that and been like, oh yeah, we got to look at that and make sure it's, look at the scores on their ASVAB because everyone's just like, yeah, whatever.
I definitely didn't do it, but yeah, I distinctly remember telling my students, tests don't define who you are. And
but they define how much money the school gets. So.
Yeah,
but work, little bees, work.
Be a cog in the system.
Yeah.
But man.
And just had available, and how different it was. Like it was. I just don't run into very many people who had that same experience of.
What else do they bring up?
Well, I mean, I think
really random clubs. Like, I was looking at my yearbook for something the other day, and I was like, "There was that. That was a club."
Yeah.
So what happened? Where was that? I didn't remember a sign language club. What is this?
Yeah, things like that. I know, obviously,
chess club.
People from larger schools, like Megan will talk about. Obviously, they had like a swim team and, more of those kind of activities, like sports wise. But I don't remember. I'm continually shocked at how much they provided for just the straight up like creative side of like the arts that they really seem to invest in at Rogersville, which is I don't consider myself a creative-y kind of person most of the time, but man, those classes were sure a lot of fun to take.
I did have about 7,000 fine arts credits.
So Rogersville,
I will say that I had some trouble like, you need some more practical arts. Yeah, but I don't want them. I don't.
What if we can
I take tech lab? Where's that class? That class was awesome. By the way.
So what was? I don't think I didn't take that one. What was that one?
It was basically like a engineering class where we would do weird stuff like learn about like bridge design and then like basically what people call now, like they talk about STEM,
Yeah.
Like, oh, STEM, it's the newest thing. I was doing that garbage in high school, so don't even come at me like it's new, because that was definitely my tech lab class. We would do things like, we're talking about bridge design, structural things like how force and stuff works, shearing force versus compression forces. And then we would build bridges out of very rudimentary materials, get a bunch of weight plates from the weight room and hang them on the bridges to see whose was the strongest. Right?
Yeah.
We did that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow.
So it was very like science engineering based. And then we would construct things with that knowledge to see if we could do it, like towers how can you build towers to withstand certain forces and stuff like that. So that's what we did in tech lab, was that kind of stuff. A lot of designing, a lot of engineering, like learning about stuff, and then building random things.
Wow.
Like, I know.
I don't. That sounds really fun.
It was really fun. It was great.
For sure.
I think it was only a semester class, but still, it was very fun.
Yeah. I mean, just things. Yeah. Classes like that just make it kind of. Again, it makes it more bearable, makes it a lot more tolerable to be there, because I remember.
I need a break from algebra for a little while. I like algebra, it's fine, but I need to do something else for a little bit because I got to. So that was where but that was that thing that I had. It was like, that's why I'm going to school, so I can do band things. So that's what I wanted. That's what got me up out of bed to go to school every morning, even on super cold early mornings for October early morning band practice.
Yeah. It did kind of suck that band was early in the morning, because, or first hour at least. But it is kind of weird to follow through Rogersville on like social media, because they totally have a swim team now. Oh.
Really?
Yeah, they have a swim team. And then they have what? But yeah, because of course, after we leave, I totally would have done archery or, skeet shooting, not swimming, but I definitely would have gone.
No, not swimming.
I definitely would have gone out there because I just distinctly remember Dad training us for something, and I felt like that would have been it. But we had different clubs.
When I was just done band
for high school. We had lit club, we had history club. We even had
things.
We even had a Star Trek club.
What? Yeah. What?
I
don't remember that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
We didn't really do much with it, but we even had we had an ultimate frisbee club.
What the heck?
Heck no. Yeah.
We didn't have it. I don't. Well, again, yeah. I was looking in my yearbook for something else. I was looking for somebody's name, I think, is what it was.
Yeah.
Because weirdly, the maintenance director of our school was going somewhere with somebody to get a thing, and they asked. He said he was from Rogersville, and he asked if he knew me, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I know him." I was like, "What? What?
Oh no!"
But so I was looking at that. But yeah, I did say I looked at the clubs in there, and I did not remember those existed. I'm sure at the time I was aware of their existence, right? But again, I was not in them because I was very I was that person There's two types of people in high school clubs. It seems you're in a whole bunch of them, or you're in the one.
Yeah.
And that's just what I was just I'm in band. That's good enough for me.
Which was both a class and a club.
Well, it really was. Well, jazz band was like that too. But I'm gonna do band things. That's what I want. That's where I'm gonna spend all my time. I'm good. But there was looking back at it, there was lots of other options for people that could do multiple things or really other strange things. Because there definitely is a sign language club in my yearbook. I didn't remember that. Right? There's chess club and all kinds of other stuff, and I didn't remember. There's math club. What? I remember math club.
But we were called mathletes.
Oh, we? Oh, you remember this club?
I mean.
I think I remember Colin, Kevin, and Kyle definitely being in the math club.
You were definitely under Mr. Wubanoff for being mathletes for sure.
There you go. I did not recall that being a thing.
Yeah, we would go and compete at the JQH Arena on the MSU campus. Do math-a-thons or whatever they're called.
Really?
Yeah. But we'd break up. We would each of us would study certain topics, and we would break out and do our own competitions. Basically imagine taking math tests, and then at the end we would get the whole team together and we had to solve a math problem or two or something like that. And it was pretty intense.
I mean, that's kind of cool. Now thinking about it, I'm sure when I was in high school, I would have been yeah, no, thank you, I'm good. Yeah. But that's a good option for people to be able to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, it's an option thing. How do you get more stuff. And I think part of it is you have to. Well, the problem with our school is like so small that like there's not like it's hard to expand to more options because there's no people. So like
you just start having all of the same people and all the same clubs,
and that's how it is now. And like then they can't go to something because like the other club is having the same thing that day. And it's like, oh well, there's two people here. Like
yeah, which really makes it hard. Yeah.
I know big ones, and then there's like smaller ones, but
I know FCA is still pretty popular.
Oh yeah, but that's not like that one. That's the one. It's too many letters. I can't remember. There's quite a few people on that one.
When people kind of ask me about Rogersville, one of the things that I definitely bring up is just like the power presence of the FFA. Like, I don't know if any of you guys went to barn warming, but I went one year.
I went one year only because somehow my friend got nominated for barn warming king.
Yeah.
And, we were just like, well, I guess we have to go. So, like, imagine me and my friends showed up to barn warming. It was kind of weird.
Oh, geez.
Also, our school, the school I work at now, their barn warming is definitely in the gym, which I find weird. They should call it gym.
Really not okay.
I definitely remember getting bused to a barn somewhere.
Yep. A barn.
To be warned and watched really strange contests like hay bale throwing and hot dog eating. But
yes.
Haymaze race was in there.
Yes. There was
another one. I don't know what the other one was, but
there was like some sort of pie thing. I remember that.
Lots of Cotton Eye Joe.
I don't remember that. I remember sitting on hay bales.
There's school.
I mean, it was like I knew a bunch of people there because it wasn't like, Rogersville was just not quite big enough to where you didn't like know who everyone was. Even if you didn't like associate with them, you still knew, oh, hey, that's that dude. Like I see him he's in my math class or whatever. So like we hung out for a while. And it was, if you can imagine me and Corey at a barn warming.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's not the type of people you would expect to be warming a barn. But there you go. No. There we were. Doing stuff.
Doing stuff. I also definitely like, if someone asks me about Rogersville, I bring up that. I also bring up the fact that I'm pretty sure it was Fordland or some school out that way that got mad at us because during FFA week, we had the white trash bash.
I don't know.
And
this was not a thing that I recall.
Well, we had a
Brandon distancing himself from being the central ringleader of the white trash bash. It seems like.
No, I was not. That is a new phrase to my life. I've never heard that before.
Well, you are missing out. But
I remember drive your tractor to school day because I remember the parking lot was tractors.
I also bring that up. But yeah, no, we had a white trash bash day where people would just dress up as white trashy people, and like that was what is it called? Like a theme for like a football game. And I remember like another team got mad at us because they thought we were making fun of them. And they're like, oh, have you seen like us? Like this is us on a normal day. Like, what are you talking about? But yeah, like I bring up those like three things mostly in like a conversation about Rogersville. But yeah, just how much like cool things we had. And then I talked to someone from like Union, Oklahoma, and all of the things that they had. And I'm like, oh, well, man.
Yeah, but that school's insane. So I don't.
It's so cool though.
I got lost in there one time. Did I tell you a story? We definitely had a drumline contest there.
Yeah.
I decided to join drumline my senior year because I was like, why not? I could drum. So because I could read music, I got to play the timpani, which also means that I got to be in charge of carrying around timpanis.
Not fun. Those are heavy.
I definitely lost them for about 30 minutes in the Union High School because all those hallways are enormous and they all look exactly the same. And I was like, where the heck did I put my drums? So
it's so
I had misplaced my three enormous drums for a little while because I couldn't remember where.
You're good win.
Yeah, you lose enormous drums in a school because it's so big and all the hallways look exactly the same. The first time I'd ever been inside that building, it was like, oh man, I am so lost right now. I cannot even.
Oh no. Yeah.
So it's my one member union high school.
Nice.
Being greatly distressed that I was going to get killed because I lost timpanis. The most expensive drum. Like, oh no.
Yeah, and let's be honest, one of the hardest to lose. So you really good job there.
I was just really upset that they were like, everyone's responsible for their own instrument. You are responsible for all 3 timpanis.
All 3 of these massive.
Wait, what? Something about this doesn't seem fair.
I feel like I'm being slighted.
Yeah, something about this seems fishy. Like me and the marimba player guy were like just screwed because we're like, well, dang it, we've got these big things. We got like,
yeah, well, uh-oh.
Because the cymbal player, like, what the heck? You get back here, help me out.
Right, triangle and a Glock. I'm pretty good.
The Glock feel. Oh.
Yeah.
Another thing that I kind of took for granted from Rogersville is like all of the plays that we did. But I get to places like Keeney Valley and they're like, well, yeah, back in the day we used to have plays, but that's just like a thing that they cut. And so like they don't have like a program for it. And I just remember like I can't remember who was talking about it, but I remember it was like one of our administrators at Rogersville. He's like, we specifically put in there a request to have like a big auditorium just so we can put on performances. Like I remember that being like a big staple, having like a good quality music arts like section for like the band and choir, and just enjoying that aspect of it, and then going to a place that hadn't had that in like 50 years. And so I mostly miss being Sasha the Dancing Russian.
That's really the key. You miss dancing around the bar, being Sasha. Yeah, we know
that song still pops in my head occasionally, and I'm like, what is happening?
I did really want to watch that movie like super bad last week for some reason. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to watch it.
Long though.
I know, that's what made me not watch it. Like this is like 3.5 hour musical. Like I love Tevye very much, but
it's 3.5 hours, but 2.5 of just Tevye pulling his milk cart.
That's true. Sure. But on the other hand, like that's positive.
Yes.
Yeah, I just did that in there. The other thing though that I swinging back to things that were different that I recall was student section being a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like sporting things or like literally everything. Because where I am now at school, the student section is like not existent. It's like 8.
Really?
Yeah. It's so weird. It really confuses me.
Is that just because? Well,
I don't know why.
Yeah,
I have no idea. Like they just don't care. Like when
I remember at Rogersville, it being pretty crazy all the time. Like especially for football games.
Basketball games.
Basketball games.
I remember basketball games. Yeah. Like
basketball games were
fights in the parking lot one time. Like that, it was nuts. It was like standing room only at every game.
Yeah.
But then, like, I get to NEO, and people just like, well, granted, NEO football was terrible, and you guys went to some of our games, so you saw firsthand. But like, people just like kind of like sparsely sat in the stand. But then I remember going on trips to like different high schools for NEO band, like playing at like for their football games, and like I remember we went to like Oklahoma. Stands were packed, but no one cheered. Really? And like
That'd
the band,
weird.
Yeah, and like the band like didn't play, but in Oklahoma, the band can play like nonstop.
Oh, really?
Like in Missouri, like when the play or when the ball's in play, like you have to stop. But in Oklahoma,
we know that Misha is against fun. We know this. And they're like, hey, if that looks fun, you better quit that right.
Yeah.
And so
this
like,
true.
but like everyone was in the stands, and it was just silent. And so our band director looked at us, and he's like, I don't know if we should cheer. And they were like, and all those people in the band were like, heck yeah, we're gonna cheer. And so out of an entire crowd of like maybe like a few hundred people, like we were just insane. Like, and we played constantly, and we kind of got a little ripple effect that people would also kind of get involved. But like, when I coached at Caney Valley, it was, our stands were semi-packed, but no one like really cheered unless like the stand, like students would just come and like sit and just talk, like they wouldn't watch the game. And so I don't know if it's just if you're at like a winning program, like if you go to like a Jinx game or a Union game or an Owasso game, or 2 weeks ago I went to a Pawhuska Huskies game, which is right behind my office in Pawhuska. And
yes, I gathered.
Got that.
Which is in Oklahoma, if you guys didn't know that. Yes.
Now, was that in the northern hemisphere or
it's actually in the Cambodian district of?
Okay, that's what I thought. I was confused there for a minute.
Now, granted, it was a district playoff game, and like everyone in the crowd had cowbells, which I think is like
that's
the most
definitely not allowed in
annoying
Missouri.
No, they don't like that.
But
Missouri Misha would stop the game and make you. They would take them all away.
But like that was like one of the first football games I went back to since leaving Caney Valley, and just like the atmosphere of it was like, yeah, it's a winning program. They're making a playoff run for the first time in a while. But like from like the young kids to like the old people, like everyone was going nuts. And I'm like, oh man, this is football. Like this is
that's crazy.
Football.
Even at our school, like they have a fairly decent basketball program. And like that's the thing. Like our school is known for basketball. For like the history of its existence.
Yeah.
That's what people want. They're like obsessed with basketball. But they do that. When you go to the games, they do exactly that. They go in, they sit down, they sit in the bleachers, they got their arms crossed, and they just sit there and look at it. And then they will like shout things at kids. Come on, like angrily, like not like
being encouraging. Helpful. No, they're helpful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, they're being like extra helpful. Like
super.
What are you doing? Steal the ball. Like that kind of junk. Or like shout things at the refs angrily.
Yeah.
But that's it. There's not like a positivity attached to it. It's like, you better be good or else. Like it's very strange and not enjoyable to be at. And I just don't.
I can't. Yeah.
See,
even at like the little kids games, when I go to like 5th and 6th grade basketball to watch my kids, like
what?
The parents are just all like, rah, rah, and I don't know. It's so weird. I don't understand. And that's like none of the students come to the high school game because the parents are just over there like shouting. And like even like a couple years ago, like 2 years ago, we were in like district finals, like sectional finals or whatever. And they were like, yep,
here we be.
It's pretty cool. Like what? Wait, what in the world?
See, the atmosphere of just like being back at like in a high school, because granted that was also the first time I've actually been in like the stands of a high school football game, because I was never in the stands in high school because I was always on the field.
Yeah.
I was always in like our stands or marching during like when I was in college.
Yeah, I sat in the band bleachers, so I don't.
And then, totally in the end zone. Yeah.
Well, I guess count like Oklahoma State, but that's college wise. But like high school
that's
wise,
a bit different.
I was always in the press box, or I was always out on the field for coaching, and so being back. Granted, I stood next to one of my coworkers who like is definitely in like the older alumni crowd of that school, and so they stand by the fence in front of the concession stand and talk about the weather and like back in my day. And so like just
song.
Well, the school only had, unfortunately, only had like.
Anyway, sorry, you were saying?
Pawhuska only had like 10 people on a band, so I couldn't really hear their marching band. But just being back in that environment, like for the first time, and like actually seeing that perspective of a high school football game for once, I actually bought a Pahuska hat, and like just like because it was just that cool,
and just drew 37 on it in marker. Like, nope, this is mine now.
This is me.
No, there's a nice little lady who has a little clothing shop, and she makes like the Pahuska like shirts and things like that. And so I bought a T-shirt and I bought a hat. I bought 2 hats actually. And she swindled me. She was an older lady, and she looked like she didn't get much business that day. And I was like, I'll help the community. And I walked out. And I'm like, did I seriously buy 2 freaking hats? And so, yeah, I have a.
We know that you love hats. It's understandable.
It wasn't. I didn't say it was a bad thing. I'm just saying.
He woke up from his fugue state and was like, "Wait a minute,
where'd these hats come from?
I need to buy more hats." But yeah, no, so it was just being
she
back.
Brainwashed you actually is happening.
Just being back in that environment of like a community being behind a sporting event or being behind a school, and that's how Rogersville was. Like everyone pretty much came to like a football game. Everyone pretty much came to a basketball game, even though I greatly disliked basketball when I was in high school. I pretty much went for jazz band.
Yeah, jazz band's the coolest, but
yeah. And but yeah, like I just remember people being behind it. But then I go to some of these other schools or other places, and yeah, like people show up, but they don't do anything. And like, do you not know how to sports ball? Like you. Are you broken? Like,
yeah.
I know it's time for like socializing, but there's a game going on. Cheer for your school, dang it!
Yeah, and even like I wasn't like all about like pep assemblies, right? I wasn't extra peppy in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Some say still not, but
some say
that I was not peppy. I was definitely like sitting in the back row, the bleachers during pep assemblies, right? But I remember they were a thing, and like people were into it, like most people. And then later they brought the band down. They're like, "No, band's gonna play at the pep assembly." Like, what? Wait, do we have to though? Like, are you sure?
Now, hold on a minute.
Yeah, like wait a minute, hold on. But like they were a big thing, and like our school now doesn't even do them. Partly because it's like, oh no, you're taking away from educational time, blah blah blah. But you know, safeguard your instructional time, all that stuff. Which on one hand I'm glad, because they used to just do them like all the time, and it was like, what? They would always do them during the same hour. So whatever hour that was, like, till they got shafted, right? Because like if they did 7th hour every time, whatever your 7th hour class was, like a couple weeks a month, you like wouldn't have it. A couple days, you know, it was there goes class time. So that stinks for your teacher. But like we have now swung the exact opposite direction of no pep assemblies ever. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know, like that's odd. But again, it goes back to like, oh, well, we got to make sure that this number is good, because the state only cares about this number right here on your score.
And how counterintuitive it is. You know, we've kind of mentioned of to focus on that number, they strip away everything else to get it just that number, but they're stripping away all those other things that go in to support that number. And yeah, it may feel like you're taking away time from studying for the number, but if you're not letting them be kids, you know, to explore, to grow, right?
Especially in high school, that's the thing they talk about, right? Like you got to talk, but they only care about like certain educational models and all that stuff. And that's the thing, the buzzword, whatever buzzword model is in for the week, right? The last couple of years, it's like writer's workshop. Oh my gosh, the workshop model, the workshop model. Like, yes, I understand. It's not like you're thinking too hard about this. Like, what's important about the workshop model is the part where you tell them how to do it, you practice it together, and then you let them do it on their own. That is the structure that, in my opinion, the important bit.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what the thing is that you're doing. That is the thing, right? These are the very small steps that you have to have. Now they will say like, "Oh no, you have to have X thing and Y thing, blah blah." Blah. But no, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Right. But again, because they focus on whatever insert thing here, like you sort of lose sight of the fact that the other big thing that you are doing is you are teaching these students how to people. Right. You have to teach them. The other thing that we're doing is to teach them how to be humans and interact in a societal manner.
Yeah.
Like how to function together as people. And by like beating in their heads at like, oh, you've got to study, you have to know all of these standards for this test. You're going, is that really what? Is that helpful?
Does that help the society at large, like be a good, does that help with civic duty and the idea of being part of society and something larger than you actually, than you, right?
No,
it does
not.
No,
right.
Matter of fact, if anything, it does the exact opposite by saying, well, if you don't focus on your test scores, the focus all of a sudden shifts to being on the individual. And you get taken away from that larger context and that civic duty.
Yeah, but being civil is very important, right? And like, that's not something that you just know how to do.
Right.
It's not innate by any stretch of the imagination, clearly.
What?
We need education in that as well. So like, finding time to incorporate that is also the struggle, right? How do you incorporate these things to make meaning? And that brings your meaning back, right? Because if you just sit and stare and read, like that's not super great because you don't have context. You have no applicable context. You can't apply it to anything. So like you need other, what's the word I'm looking for? Outlets. There we go. To throw this information, right? You have to apply it somehow. And they just, strip that back and like, oh no, well, we don't need that. Or those bad excuses like, well, no one does it. Well, yeah, no one does it because you don't put an emphasis on it. Right. So they don't think it's important.
Yeah. It's funny how that works is whenever you...
It is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. When you don't leave time for it and you don't provide resources for it, nobody's going to do it. And then they're like, well, see, nobody does it, so we don't need to provide resources for it. Like, that's not how that works. That's not how any of this works.
No. Same date that went to Mr. Dark's carnival?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you didn't like scare her away with bizarre, spooktacular circus extravaganza?
No, it was really cool.
All right. Sweet. So your charm overcame chainsaw juggling.
Chainsaw juggling.
Yeah.
And
chainsaw jugglers.
The comedic vampire really sealed the deal.
What?
Join us next time. Colin, exit intro, exit outro, go.
I'm writing it like episode ends at 1:31. Okay, it's noted.
Colin, put that in the video.
Oh, it is.
Okay.